The Entrepreneur's Library, episode 120.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Library, the only book-centric podcast that reviews all the top-selling business books and shares authors' perspective firsthand. This is your resource to finding the next great book that will enable you to grow personally and professionally. Welcome your host, Wade Danielson.
Thank you for joining us on the Entrepreneur's Library. Today we have Larry Winget, author of Grow a Pair: How to Stop Being a Victim and Take Back Your Life, Your Business, and Your Sanity. I think you guys are going to love this Larry's straightforward approach in his book, and you can also look him up on Amazon to see all of his other different books. His book titles will catch your attention right away as well. So without further ado, let's bring on Larry. Welcome, Larry, and thank you for joining us on the Entrepreneur's Library.
Oh, I appreciate you having me. Thanks.
Will you take just a moment before we take a deep dive into the book to introduce yourself? Just tell us a little bit about you personally.
Sure. I am known as the pit bull of personal development. That's one of my registered trademark. I'm also have a registered trademark as the world's only irritational speaker. I don't much believe in motivational speaking. I believe you can get better results by irritating people, and that's what I do. I've done my own television series on A&E. I'm a regular on several business television shows, several news shows, national news shows. I've shot 2 CNBC specials, a couple of PBS specials. I had my own series, like I said. I've written 6 New York Times or Wall Street Journal bestsellers. I've spoken to over 400 of the Fortune 500 companies. I get around.
Excellent. You talked about your books and just the book titles. If people get on Amazon and look at your different book titles, are definitely in your face. So.
I write pretty good books. I write really good titles.
Yeah.
Shut Up, Stop Whining, and Get a Life. That was my first #1 bestseller, which is still probably my best known and really the line I'm best known for. That's what sort of created my different positioning in the marketplace. I'll say that for most of the happy motivational bozos who are out there.
And that was the one that came out in 2011?
No, that's a 2004 book, Shut Up, Stop Whining, and Get a Life. And then it came out in its second edition. I did a revised edition in 2011.
Okay, gotcha. That's what it's showing on here. Okay, well, very good. Well, Larry, thank you for sharing all that. Now let's jump right into the book, your latest,
Sure.
Grow a Pair, which was just made available for purchase in paperback back in August 2014. And
Yep.
Larry, we're going to move quickly, but we're here to cover the top questions that our listener / future reader wants to get answered. And the first one is, what was the inspiration behind writing Grow a Pair?
I've written all of my books based on what I see going on in society, whether when I wrote You're Broke Because You Want to Be, I looked around and said there are a lot of people who are blaming everyone else for their financial situation, and it's their own fault. Same way with Grow a Pair. When I wrote this one, I looked at society, and as I said, I'm on television a lot. I look at what's going on in the news, and what I realize is that we've just become this nation of victims. Pretty much, as I say in the first line of the book, we're a society of weenies and wimps, and I believe that's true. We've become entitled. We won't take responsibility for our own results. We want to blame everyone and everything for the fact that our life sucks. And what we need to do is grow a pair, take responsibility, take control of our lives, know what we believe in, and move on from there.
One of my favorite quotes, something you said reminded me of it, is talks about, not being a victim to your circumstances, but a victor. And so what you just said resonates with me big time. But so what would you say makes your book different from others regarding the same or similar topic?
There's no other book in the market like this one. So there is no other book that talks in this way about telling people to really grow a pair. And grow a pair is not what's going on between your legs. It's what's going on between your ears. It's about developing an attitude of control and power. And there really aren't any books out there that I know of that say it quite like I do. I'm known for my directness. I don't mince any words. I get right in your face. And, remember, one of my books was called People Are Idiots, and I can prove it. So I don't mince any words when it comes to this stuff. So there really aren't any books to say this one is similar to on the marketplace right now. It's a standalone book as far as I know.
So, Larry, how would you suggest the reader engage with your book? Is this one they can jump in and out of as they're looking for different information to pull nuggets, or is this really one you designed to be read from front to back?
No, I don't write anything that is designed front to back. You can jump around my stuff. When I talk about growing a pair, I talk about growing a pair in your finances, in your family, in your business, in your personal life. All the ways to identify whether you do have a pair, what you can do to grow a pair, what will be the consequences, what are the benefits. So you can jump around in my book. That's the way I like to read, so that's the way I like to write.
All right, Larry, now that we know the purpose behind the book, let's take a deep dive into the content. Will you take us through, and again, it doesn't have to be chapter by chapter, but will you give the reader a great idea of what your book's all about?
Sure. Well, I start the book off by giving my basic premise that, as I just said, that we've sort of become a nation of weenies and wimps and victims. And then I put people through a test just by asking them a series of questions. Let me give you a couple examples of that. First of all, I say, do you allow people to take advantage of you? Most people these days allow themselves to be walked on and walked over, whether it's in their family, by their spouse, at work, you name it. We've become victims. So do you allow people to take advantage of you? Do your kids talk back to you? Boy, that's a quick one for people to realize that they don't have a pair as a parent. If your kids are talking back to you, how many times have you walked through the mall and seen little kids sassing their parents? That does not show that the parent is in control of the family. Do you let people cut in front of you? Do you find, when you're in line, do you find yourself picking up the slack for your lazy coworkers and you take it? Do you go to a restaurant and eat cold food rather than send it back or speak up? Do you let things slide that bother you? We all have areas of our life where we let others take advantage of us. So what I like for people to do is realize that while they think they're tough, they're probably not so tough, especially in areas where it concerns their family and their business. But when you ask somebody, does your 8-year-old daughter have a bedazzled iPhone? I'm sorry. There's no reason in the world for an 8-year-old to have a cell phone. And that's when they start going, oh, maybe I really don't have a pair because I don't know how to say no. Then the other thing I like for people to realize is, what do you really stand for? What do you believe in? What are your core values? And when you challenge someone on their core values, most people will do a little lobster walk backwards and say, well, maybe I really didn't believe that. I'm amazed that if I walked up to the average person on the street and said, I tell you what, tell me 5 things you believe in right now that if I held a gun to your head, you wouldn't change your mind about. If I stood toe-to-toe and got in your face and argued with you, I could never talk you out of these 5 things. Give me 5 things right now you believe in. Most people couldn't come up with one. They look at you like a dog looking at a ceiling fan with total confusion. So I like people to know what they believe and then stand up for what they believe. Remember this, if you tolerate it, if you put up with it, you are endorsing it. And people go, no. So I say, do you endorse people being rude to you? And they go, well, no. Well, then why do you put up with it? Because if you're putting up with it and letting people be rude to you, you are endorsing it. Do you believe it's okay for employees to be late? No, I don't believe that. Then why do you let your employees come in late? Do you believe it's okay to watch 6 hours of television? No, I don't. Well, then why do you do it? And then people say, no, I don't. Well, the average American watches 5 to 6 hours of television a day. Do you think it's okay to spend more money than you have? This is interesting. Everybody puts down the government for spending more money than they take in, but 40% of our society in America spends more money than they take in as well. So it really kind of starts with doing an assessment of who you are, what you believe in, and whether people do take advantage of you. And then I'm real quick to say, before you start griping about the rest of the world, like in that government example, and before you start taking your neighbors to task and your idiot brother-in-law and all of that, I want you to go to the mirror and realize you need to fix yourself first. You need to look yourself in the eye and say, everything I've got going on in my life, it's my fault. If I have one overriding theme in life, and it's the thing I've been on stages. I've spoken to 400 of the Fortune 500 companies. It's the thing I've been on stages for nearly 25 years saying, and it's been the theme of all 6 of my books, and it's this one thing. Your life's your own damn fault. It was your thoughts, your words, and your actions that created the life you're living. So after that assessment is done, I talk about some of the problems in society, like political correctness. I think that's the most castrating thing we've got going on in our society right now, is that We're afraid to speak up and say the truth because it just might hurt somebody's feelings. Somebody might get their fragile little ego bruised. And we've got to start speaking the truth, whether people get their feelings hurt or not. The truth doesn't care whether you like it. The truth is still the truth. We've got people who speak in very weak language these days, again, because we might offend somebody. Well, what I try to let everybody know is, if you have a position at all on anything, someone's going to be offended by it. You remember Jesus stood for loving one another, and they killed him for it. So it doesn't matter what you stand for, someone's going to hate you for it. So stand for something and be brave enough to take it. Because standing up for what you believe in, speaking up for what you believe in, is one of the most important things in terms of your own personal integrity that you can ever do. And then when you look at how that whole idea of speaking up for yourself, knowing what you believe in, moves over into your family. That's how you'll raise your kids. We have too many kids right now who truly are victims of bad parenting because their parents want to be their kid's friend instead of their parent. We have bosses who would rather be their employee's friend instead of making sure that they clearly communicate what the expectations of the job are and clearly communicate what the consequences for not doing your job are. We're more afraid these days to chastise someone for being lazy and not doing what we're paying them to do, because what if they got their feelings hurt, quit, and sued us? We've got to start doing the right thing in our country, in our families, and our businesses. Now, when you do this, there will be consequences. People are going to call you mean. I get called mean every day. Somebody called me mean in an interview the other day, and they said, "You're really a mean man." I said, "Why is telling the truth mean?" You know, again, the truth doesn't care whether you like it. It just is what it is. And what you have to understand is your success does not depend on you liking me or not. I'm the only guy in the country that stands on stages and looks at thousands of people in the audiences and says, "I don't give a damn whether you're successful or not. I don't give a damn about any of you people. What you leave this room and do is up to you, and it has no effect on me. You're the one who has to look your family in the eye and say, 'I'm sorry, I'm so lazy, I can't make enough money to send my kids to college.'" And I know that's tough talk, but this is about, we need to get to a place in our society where somebody's willing to tell them the truth and say, "Listen, if you're not making enough money to do well by your family, primarily at this place in our country right now, with the opportunities are out there, it's because you're lazy and you don't care enough to do well." And that's what this book is about, is assessing where you are in your life and then telling you some of the things that you can do. You'll be called mean. You'll lose some friends. Listen, most of us need to lose a bunch of friends. When you realize your income is on average of the 5 people that are closest to you in your life, look at your friends and say, "Is that how much money I want to make?" Probably not. You need to fire those friends and get some better friends. And when you look at telling the truth, there are going to be people who don't appreciate it. There are going to be friends that leave you. You're going to be called a bully. One of the things I'm real clear about in this book is the whole bully thing. Listen, you can't have a bully unless you have a victim. And when we stop being victims, when we teach our children not to be victims any longer, we can make bullying go away. You can't legislate good behavior in people. You can't legislate health in people, even though we have some governments that are trying to do that. Some mayors and so forth are trying to legislate health. They're trying to legislate common sense. That's not how it works. We've got to educate ourselves to the fact that we need to act better. And when we act better in our lives and our businesses, we'll start to see better results. We can't change the world, but we can change our world. And this book is about teaching people how to change their world. It even goes over into your money. When people don't have any money, it's because their finances are out of control. And when you get in control by having a written down budget, that puts you in control, even if your budget's upside down, even if you're spending more money than you make right now. Most people don't even know that. When you see it written down in black and white, it becomes real to you. The fact that you've written it down puts you in control of your money, maybe for the first time ever, and it gives you a place to start. I like people to work from document, not from thought. Our brains are stupid. So when you start to write things down and say, "These are my plans, this is my budget, This is where I am. This is where I want to be. When you do things like that in black and white and have a very concrete plan for every area of your life, you'll see your life turn around. So that's pretty much about growing a pair and changing the way you think and changing the way you act, and how we need to know what we believe and stand up for what we believe.
So, Larry, you just went through a ton of powerful information. And that's what I think makes this next question, at least in my opinion, pretty difficult to answer. And that's if the reader could only take away one concept, principle, or action item out of the entire book, everything you just shared with us, what would you want that to be?
Know what you believe in, that you absolutely will never compromise. If people could just come up with 5, I have 10 things that I rattled off in 15 seconds one day. And I said, Larry, if I was going to fill out my own list, what would it be? My number one thing is honesty. I won't tolerate anybody lying to me. You can do anything in the world to me, but don't you ever lie to me. I'll cut you off the knees and I'll end our friendship at this very moment. If you come to me and say, I screwed up, Larry, help me fix this, man, I'll work with you forever. But if you lie to me, if you're dishonest, we will end our relationship immediately. That's something I stand for. It's one of my core values is honesty. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be the truth. I ask other people, what's your core value? You're not going to compromise. Where is the line in the concrete? We used to draw lines in the sand. Those get washed away too easily. Where's your line in the concrete? You're not going to budge on it. People did that one thing, their lives would change. You need to know what you will and what you won't put up with. Tolerance is overrated.
So I pulled a ton of great quotes out of the interview so far, and that actually leads into our next question, which is, do you have a favorite quote from your book?
I like everything I write in my books, or I wouldn't put it in there. But I think there's a lot of real quotable stuff in the book. The one that I see people using a lot from the book is that line, you can't have a bully without a victim. And it sort of changes your mindset. We all love to play the victim. And when we teach ourselves to not be a victim, when we give our kids the skills so they don't think in terms of victimhood, when we change the way a huge portion of society thinks in terms of whether they're being victimized by the government or recessions or the banks and all that, we will change our world. So I like that you can't have a bully without a victim. That deals with responsibility and blame.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. And that really spins it. So it's a fantastic quote. Larry, it wouldn't be a book-centric podcast if I didn't ask you for a book recommendation from you. And obviously your books create paradigm shifts and have an impact on people's lives. And now I'm asking you for the same thing. What's a book that you've read that you absolutely, it impacted your life? It created a paradigm shift for you.
There are several. I wrote a blog called the 5 Books That Changed My Life that people can get from my website if they go to my blog. There are a couple, though, that really come to mind. One, maybe it's because it just hit me at the right time in my life when I was just working so damn hard that I'd lost a good vision of what my priorities. And it's called First You Have to Row a Little Boat by Richard Bode. It's just about learning to put your life in perspective, how to step back. And remember, sometimes the best thing you can do for your work life is to learn how to take a small portion of your life and relax and just be. And that's a challenge for entrepreneurs and people who are out there busting their butts to become rich and successful in that whole be all you can be sort of stuff. Usually we forget how to relax and enjoy what we already have. So today I'm going with First You Have to Row a Little Boat.
Excellent. So Larry, before we depart, can you recommend the best way for our listeners to not only get more information on you, but also your book, Grow a Pair? And I would add to that, you just mentioned a blog. Will you mention the exact website where they can reach that? We'll put that in the show notes so they can look at that, because I personally want to visit your page as well.
Sure. It's Larry Winget, LarryWinget.com. You'll find everything about me. I do a weekly series on YouTube called Ask Larry Anything. I've got a real presence on the internet. My Larry Winget fan page, I have 30,000 people that I fight with every day about the principles of success. It's very interactive. I've got an online university people can subscribe to. So there's a lot of access, a lot of free stuff on my website too. So just go there and look at free stuff. You'll find plenty there to keep yourself entertained.
Perfect. Well, Larry, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your book with us.
I had a great time. Thanks for having me, Wade.
Thank you so much for listening in today. If you'd like a copy of Larry's book, or at least an opportunity to win it, to win his book, Grow a Pair, become a VIP at the elpodcast.com. Also, if you're looking for the show notes with some of the different links that he mentioned, same thing. Check out the elpodcast.com under Grow a Pair.
Looking for your next book idea? Head over to the elpodcast.com, where Wade shares his amazing resource, the top 10 business books recommended by over 500 entrepreneurs, with you for free. That's the elpodcast.com. Till the next time, keep it on the EL.